This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay, guys, the Texas Public Policy Foundation has come up with a report. And basically, it's the Coming Border Crisis Report, a U.S. Mexico border simulation exercise. Today, the Texas Public Policy Foundation released a report summarizing the results of a multi day simulation exercise that examined a renewed humanitarian and national security crisis on America's southern border. The effort assembled 24 experts to game out what the first 9 months of a Biden administration might see on the U.S. Mexico border. The team included former members of Congress, current and former U.S. law enforcement personnel, lawyers, academics, journalists, and veterans. Some of the key findings in the border crisis simulation report included expectations of a softened approach, including some form of amnesty, will motivate new waves of would be migrants to start the arduous trek north. The Biden administration will be slow to understand and react to the magnitude of the problem. The stability of the Northern Triangle nations of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador will be challenged by an escalation of cartel violence. And also, it included drug cartels and their suppliers in China may shift to the production of carfentanil, an opioid 100 times as potent as fentanyl, resulting in an increase in American drug overdose deaths. Now, that's basically what the report included. Now, we have a lot more immigration topics coming up. Check this out.
Welcome back. Joe Biden backpedaling on one of his campaign promises, rolling back President Trump's immigration policies on day one.
The last thing we need is to say we're going to stop immediately the access to asylum the way it's being run now, and end up with 2 million people on our border. It will get done, and it will get done quickly, but it's not going to be able to be done on day one.
Oops, that's an admission that the borders will be open. In a new op-ed, our next guest says Biden's plan to open our borders to virtually unrestricted immigration would cause a national security crisis. Let's bring in Chuck DeVore. He's a retired Army intel officer who designed and led a border crisis simulation earlier this month. Chuck, thanks so much for being here this morning, and a great op-ed at foxnews.com. What would the consequence be in a total reversal of these policies?
Well, first of all, good morning and wonderful necktie there, Pete.
Thank you.
I understand your colleagues could maybe stand to use a tie.
Yeah.
Maybe I could loan them mine or something. So the huge thing driving this right now is expectations. You have millions of people south of the border, both in the Northern Triangle countries, that's Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, as well as in Mexico, that would love to have a better life in America. And for years under President Donald Trump, it's been difficult to cross the border and to stay in America as an illegal immigrant. And so now you have a new president coming in saying that he's going to change policies on day one. And so you have literally millions of people in the expectation of a softer policy beginning to form up in these caravans and move north. So it seems to me that this may be too little too late, that these words that we're now hearing that say, wait a minute, it's not going to be day one, I don't know if it's going to dissuade people from coming north.
Well, Chuck, whether it's day one or 100 days, here's some things Joe Biden has pledged to do. End wall construction, end remain in Mexico policy, end limits on refugee admissions, end migrant detention of migrants, halt deportation. So you're talking about the signaling that's going on. And you also mentioned a simulation, or I did, that you put on about the border. You're saying the flood that he may be trying to prevent may already be happening.
It may already be happening, and here's something that's very important. Who's going to be staffing the Biden administration Justice Department? Because what may very well happen is you have this tactic called sue and settle. So you have these groups, these non-governmental organizations that are supportive of illegal immigrants. You have the ACLU. They may sue the new administration saying, oh, this is inhumane treatment. You have to let these individuals in and process them for their asylum claims. They're mostly bogus asylum claims, by the way, here in America, and then hope that they show up a few months later to an immigration judge. This is exactly the sort of thing that if you have a sue and settle suit come up, and then the Biden administration Justice Department says, oh, okay, we have to agree to this, then the president could simply say, I tried, but it's the law. And so we expected in the simulation that we ran that things are going to rapidly build to a humanitarian crisis. You have these drug and human trafficking cartels that stand to make a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of chaos. And then lastly, one of the very disturbing things that came out of our simulation was the substance called carfentanil, which is 100 times more potent than fentanyl, both of which are made in the People's Republic of China. We think that the cartels may begin to start shipping this very potent carfentanil across the border, and you'll see U.S. drug overdose deaths skyrocket.
That's a scary preview. Chuck DeVore, thank you very much. And welcome back. After a year of uncertainty, migrants living in camps in Matamoros are not only worried about the pandemic, but also what's going to happen next with their asylum cases. Santiago Caicedo spoke with some of those migrants and brings us that story.
We followed along Team Brownsville, a local organization, as they crossed over to Matamoros to visit migrants at the migrant camp and handed out spices and ingredients for their Christmas dinner. Instead of clothes and toys, migrants received meat and vegetables brought in from Matamoros.
Everyone's cooking on their own or with small groups.
Migrants usually cook using improvised wood-burning stoves. This year, volunteers were not able to bring in prepared food from Brownsville.
It's heartbreaking. It really is, to see them living like this.
One of those migrants is Josué Cornejo, who came from Honduras with his wife and 3 kids.
Lo sacaron la delincuencia del país. Casi toda la familia estamos aquí en México.
The crime back in Honduras forced us to leave. Nearly all of my extended family now lives here in Mexico, he says. This would be the second Christmas they spend in the migrant camp. During this Christmas, no matter the heat, the cold, or the rain, migrants like Josué say they're going to continue to fight their asylum case, whatever it takes. Perla Vargas, a migrant from Nicaragua, says the same. She has been teaching children in this improvised classroom. She's been in the camp for nearly a year and a half.
Me he sentido momentos difíciles que ya quisiera regresarme, pero sabiendo la situación que está mi país, que es Nicaragua, que cada día el régimen de Daniel Ortega está matando.
In the darkest moments, I think about heading back to Nicaragua, but I remind myself of the situation back home and how President Daniel Ortega is killing his own people, she says. But what's next for the migrant protection protocol under a Biden administration? Congressman Henry Cuellar, who represents a portion of the valley in Washington, says the incoming president will have to be very careful on implementing immigration policies.
I've already got some briefings already that you got those criminal organizations that are already advertising, telling people, hey, things are going to change in January, start coming over.
Congressman Cuellar says that's the reason why Border Patrol has registered an increase in unaccompanied children crossing the border alone. Meanwhile, migrants at the camp tell us individuals they say control the camp have been known to beat migrants, something that is commonplace along with kidnappings, according to Human Rights Watch. And now with an incoming Joe Biden administration, a lot of immigration attorneys and migrants see with uncertainty how a lot of President Trump's immigration policies will be undone. In Matamoros, Santiago Caicedo, Channel 5 News.
Special team to patrol the U.S. border in hard-to-reach places in the El Centro sector. Alexandra Rangel has a 13 on your side exclusive report on how the Border Patrol's horse unit is making a comeback.
We got a closer look into how the El Centro sector patrols the desert area by horseback.
Border Patrol, known for being able to track anyone, anywhere, has a team that can go where few others can.
The horses are very effective, oftentimes more effective than a vehicle, especially in rough, dangerous terrain. The horses are able to get to places that vehicles are not.
13 American Mustangs and 1 quarter horse tamed and trained for search and rescue are one of the most effective tools the El Centro sector has to secure the border. U.S. border protection's use for horses goes way back in history to the 1920s.
The United States Border Patrol actually started on horseback. It was the most common means of transportation back in 1924.
Border Patrol provided the oats and hay for horses, but agents furnished their own horse and saddle. Eventually, vehicles phased horses out, but in recent years, horse patrols have made a comeback.
Here at El Centro sector in 2003, horses were introduced to the sector and are used to patrol the border.
The Horse Patrol helps guard El Centro sector's 70 miles of the border year-round.
We use these horses 365 days a year. Oftentimes, a shift will last 10 or more hours, and the agent can be on that horse 10 or more hours. Now, of course, that depends on things like temperature, the weather, and things like that, but they stay in the saddle until the mission's accomplished.
And every day is a new mission. Bovino says the Horse Patrol apprehends people crossing the border illegally almost every shift that they're out patrolling in Zone 1, their most dangerous area of patrolling near the Jacumba and Incopa Mountains.
Zone 1 is the most active zone. We've had a lot of the traffic that's been pushed from our flatlands due to the wall and other infrastructure into this zone.
Tracking illegal activity in hard-to-reach places through rocky terrain and unbearable temperatures cannot be done without the help of the Horse Patrol.
This is also our highest zone for rescues. We've had approximately 150 rescues in the past year, and that ranges from heat stress, dehydration, all the way to broken bones.
As Border Patrol took 13 on your side through the trails they patrol daily, there was an apprehension of nearly 24 people. Details on the apprehension were not disclosed, but a team of agents and medics rushed past us to attend to the group. Bovino says oftentimes those crossing through the Jacumba Desert are in bad shape, many traveling with little or no food and water.
Many of our agents are medics, so they carry medical gear. Oftentimes people that we encounter are in need of medical attention. Medical gear is an additional type of gear that you would typically see on an agent. Rescues were up in this zone several 100%. I believe it was approximately 600% increase in rescues over the past year in this zone. So again, any loss of life is tragic, and we do not recommend folks crossing the border summer or winter.
El Centro Border Patrol says at least 10 people have died this year from heat exhaustion while trying to illegally enter the U.S. And hundreds of stranded immigrants have been rescued by Border Patrol and Borstar, Border Patrol's search and trauma rescue team. Border Patrol says their Horse Patrol has helped decrease illegal crossings and kept hundreds of pounds of illegal narcotics off the street. They have a training coming up in January where agents learn the ins and outs of the horse unit.
How to pack up, how to put all the gear on the horse, and how we operate out in the field on horseback.
The training is a 1-month course that requires special agents that not only know how to patrol in high-risk conditions, but that also have a heart for caring for these wild Mustangs.
I really believe in the mission, and then on top of that, I grew up around horses. My family has always had horses. So it's the best of both worlds for me.
Reporting in the Jacumba Desert, Alexandra Rangel.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.